Hi there guys, welcome to the first edition of the Cover Zero show, week beginning 13th of March 2017. The first wave of free agency has just ended. I'm just going to do a team by team breakdown of the key additions that they've made, how well I believe they've attacked needs on their roster, discuss some of the key losses and evaluate some of the moves, give you my thoughts, opinions on those moves and some of the contract information that I've got available to me via NFL.com, Walk Football and other sites like that. So beginning this week with the Chicago Bears, I believe this is a team currently in the midst of a rebuild, particularly on the offensive sides of the ball. Not a lot of pieces there, got a good pair of guards, solid running back, couple of guys at receiver that they're hoping will develop. Defensively, quite like the front seven, but I think the backfield is a bit of a mess. In terms of the key needs that I have listed at the beginning of this free agency, we had quarterback listed, a given, particularly with Jay Cutler being cut, having wore out his welcome in Chicago. We've got defensive back. Fuller hasn't really developed in his time there, has had a fair few injuries. And offensive tackle, I feel like when they get that quarterback, if they indeed already have him, they're going to need to offer him better protection off the edge. Otherwise, that team is going to struggle. Offensive line was not great last year at protecting from edge rushers. I understand there's also a big need at skill positions and a need for depth all over the roster at this point in time. So getting to, I suppose, the key addition to the Bears, that would be quarterback Mike Glennon, who signed on a 3-year, $45 million deal from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, of course, as a Bucs fan, seeing Glennon firsthand, it's not the most exciting move. I wouldn't expect Bears fans to be, throwing a celebratory parade in regards to having Mike Glennon as their likely starter going into next season. I think he's okay as a stopgap. Made a good backup in Tampa, but having seen him firsthand, the Buccaneers teams he was on were very, very poor offensively. Had terrible O-line, no run game during his time in Tampa as a starter. It's improved the last couple of years where he's been sat behind Jameis Winston. It was a bad situation. He didn't play particularly well. His stats look quite good, but he was a bit of a garbage time quarterback, in my opinion. Led the league in 3 and outs whilst he was the quarterback. Really struggled to move the ball until games were often out of hand, which was quite often in that time frame. The Buccaneers were, as I say, they were a very, very poor side, both offensively and defensively, for the 2 years that he was the starter. Unfortunately, I do not feel he's going to a situation that's much better in Chicago, so may see some of those struggles. Now he's got a nice arm, will make some great looking throws. Pocket mobility is poor, can be a little bit scattershot, but accurate enough to make most of the throws if the throws are there. Won't take as many chances, say Cutler did or Jameis currently does for the Buccaneers. So that'll be nice for Bears fans, perhaps. It's a solid move. I understand it. I think they've overpaid a little bit, but it was made apparent quite early on in free agency that this was the guy that the Bears wanted. They went out and got him. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't hold out much hope for this move being a great one, but it gives them a starter next season. We'll see if it becomes anything more than that. Going a bit more positive now, though. This signing I really, really like. Prince Amukamara, a 1-year, $7 million deal. Can't argue with this one. Cornerback was big need. Surprised the market for Amukamara wasn't a little bit better. I thought he had a really solid season in Jacksonville last year. If he can stay healthy, he's an above average starter. Can give you some solid zone coverage. He's okay in man, okay in run support. Thought he'd get a bit of a better deal. It's quite a deep group of corners, as I've discussed in previous shows, and I thought Amukamara was one of the better value options. I really thought the team would be able to get a very good deal on him. I think this is a solid value deal. good signing by the Bears. Will not criticise this one at all. Nothing bad to say. As long as he stays healthy, great signing. And next up, another need attacked, and I think attacked quite well. May not go anywhere, but that's Kendall Wright coming from the Tennessee Titans, former first-round pick, on a 1-year, $4 million deal. Like this deal, can't argue it. No risk attached. 1 year, $4 million is nothing for potentially one of the better slot receivers in the league. Word is in Tennessee simply was a low-effort player. You could see that at times on the field, but he's got a lot of talent, a lot of ability. It's a weak receiver group there. He'll have the potential to start. Kevin White hasn't shown anything, and Cameron Meredith was solid last year. You'd like to see if he can step up his game and improve a little, but he'll potentially be, he could end up being the best receiver on that team next year if he works at it. It's certainly possible. Makes a lot of sense. They needed a receiver. They went out and got one. Team-friendly deal. If it works out for them, this could end up looking like one of the bargains of free agency. Also attacked that position by signing Marcus Wheaton from the Steelers. Didn't show much in his time there. Didn't show great hands. Didn't show he was a great route runner, but he's got some speed and size to him. It makes sense. Again, they really need to improve the weapons on that offense if Glennon's going to have any chance of making a go of it with this team. So I suspect he'll be competing for a starter's job. 1 year, $6 million. Again, low risk, potentially high upside. The kid's certainly got ability. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now in terms of those weapons, a move I don't like, and that's bringing in tight end Dion Sims, who formerly of the Dolphins, who was okay in his time with Miami. It seemed like they were starting to trust him more and more as last season went on. Okay blocker, made some catches. I just don't like the contract. It's 3 years, $18 million with 10 guaranteed. Honestly, I don't know what's going on with the tight end market this free agency. No idea at all. A lot of questionable moves being made, especially with the rumours that the tight end class in the draft this year is fantastic. I feel there's been a lot of overpaying for some fairly mediocre talent at the position. I feel like this is one of those moves. Not exciting if you're a Bears fan. I don't think I don't think it will harm the team, but I just feel that money could have possibly been better spent elsewhere. We'll see if he steps his game up and proves me wrong on this, but not a great move in my humble opinion. Then another couple of moves to attack the defensive backfield. Marcus Cooper, $16 million, 3 years, $8 million guaranteed. I'm not sure why you'd offer him a multi-year deal at all. He was torched mercilessly with Arizona. They showed no interest apparently in bringing him back. Not a surprise. I understand he was opposite Patrick Peterson, so he's going to see more targets, but he really, really struggled. A 1 year deal, like around the minimum, is what I would expect for a player like that. He may compete for a job, but he didn't show me enough in Arizona, so I don't understand this one. They also brought in veteran safety Quinton Demps, 3 years, $13.5 million. Solid move. Good chance he'll start for them. They don't really have much, if anything, at the position. Makes sense. Solid move. Can't complain about that one. And then we'll get to the key losses. So obviously the big loss is Alshon Jeffrey. Apparently they made him an offer, but I doubt it was particularly lucrative. Again, I think this is one of them players who sort of wore out his welcome with the way he's handled things off the field, particularly in the last year with the suspension. It'll be a big loss. He's a solid player when he's healthy. Had some good years there. I'm sure they'll miss him. I don't believe they've got anyone on the roster at the moment that can replace him, and I don't think they'll be able to get anyone that can in the draft either, because they are not going wide receiver with their first round pick. I think that's safe to say. Both of their quarterbacks that were remaining on the roster, Hoyer and Barkley, have gone to San Fran. no big losses there. I think Hoyer's a really, really good backup to have. But, you can go get a guy, I'm sure. No disasters there. And they lost tight end Logan Paulson. Again, no big deal there. Jeffrey being the big loss that will hurt them, no doubt, this upcoming season. All in all, not a bad start to free agency, I don't think, for the Bears. A bit of a mixed bag. I like half the signings. I dislike the other half. I like the way they've attacked the defensive back group, and I like that there's been an effort there with the receiving group. Not sure if any of them will necessarily pan out on the offensive side, but they're reasonable deals. They're players with high upside. Bringing in Glennon is underwhelming to say the least, but it's understandable. It gives them a stopgap. So it's I don't think you're going to be excited if you're a Bears fan with what has occurred in free agency at this point in time. However, I think you've probably got to understand that this is a team that is at least another year away realistically from competing within that division. It's a pretty tough division. I think the Vikings and the Packers are both very good sides. The Lions have made some good moves and they could be a lot better next year. They're definitely behind the 8 ball, and they just need to improve the talent base across the roster, particularly on offense, before I think they can start getting too aggressive going after top guys in the hopes of pursuing a playoff spot. Would be unhappy with the lack of moves they've made regarding the tackle spot. I can't criticise them too much, simply because, again, this is one of the markets that I've been very critical of. The contracts that have been handed out. It was a very mediocre group at tackle this off-season. And, if that's that money has scared them off, then that's understandable. They'll just have to try and get by with what they've got. I've not really checked out the prospects for the draft at tackle, but I've not heard particularly good things about them. So that may just be another problem spot for them this year. It's a tough time to be a Bears fan, but I can appreciate the moves that they've made. The Kendall Wright one, the Marcus Wheaton one, I'd be happy with. The Amukamara one's a great signing. Dempsey's solid. Really don't like the Sims deal, but we'll see what happens. It might be another long season in Chicago. Any Bears fans out there, feel free to let me know your thoughts. Have I been too harsh on the Bears? Do you have higher expectations for them going into next season? How are you expecting them to attack the draft, and what do you think some of their needs are, and what do you think they should the Bears attempt to progress from this point in time? I'd really love to hear from you all. Pop by in the comment section, come by, check us out on Facebook, contact me on Twitter at Simon Comboy, both uppercase, no underscore, any of that. Been a good first show. I'm going to try and get the rest of the NFC North up today. Any show ideas you'd like me to do, just pop them by in the comments or message me. I really want to try and get, cover the stuff that people don't feel is being covered. So if you've got any ideas, let me know. I'll do my best to get a video for you this week on those. Thank you very much for your time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all that good stuff. Check out the Patreon page if you want to be a real contributor towards the show. Thank you very much for checking us out. And as always, go Bucks.